And welcome back, everyone. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, Steve. How's it going?
Had a good week. How about yourself?
You know, I just came back from about a week-long trip to California for Anime Expo. And I'm tired as hell, but we're here to record a podcast.
Yeah, it was a bit lonely last week. I had a week off.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we'll talk about all that and more in just a second. Because the Bushiroad Summer Conference came and went without an anime ban announced. Everyone holding on to their early copies from AXPO just a few days ago, like it's their life's blood. Some community tier lists came out that we can probably make fun of and or agree with, because free content is truly the best content.
We wouldn't have content without it.
And finally, Steve has been cooking his Master of the Elements list along with the rest of the deck chefs and will present his arguments before us today. So, shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. Regionals. It's time.
Yeah, it's we took the whole summer off. We've been playing casually, but now we know when we get to stop playing casually.
It's September.
Turns out, by the end of July, I'm guessing it will be no more fun and back to. We will find the spike corner and we will bury our face into it because it is regional time.
It's regionals time, baby. We have dates announced at the time of recording for in NA. This is a North American podcast, generally. For what is it? Duluth, New York, quote unquote. It's in freaking White Plains.
No one would call White Plains New York.
Why do they keep doing this? First Duluth, now White Plains. They had it in Manhattan already, dude. Like, just stay there. Ontario and Richmond in Canada. Mexico, I believe in Mexico City.
It just says Mexico.
Yeah.
I
don't know why they would do that.
I have no idea
either.
Maybe they don't know.
No, there's an address. There's a city. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's downtown Mexico City.
Okay.
Rosemont, Anaheim. Now that was all completely out of order, but those are the places so far. I really need to see a Houston date and location and time, but
it means that they'll always do multiple waves of announcements when it comes to these. So if you don't have one that's really close to you, do not freak out. This is not the time. The initial wave of announcements for events is never the final list of events.
Now my actual worry is they're gonna do what they did last year and just be like, hey. So Houston, it's actually in a month now. It's in August. Have fun.
That would be really awkward if they did that. So let's hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. September looks pretty booked out. I guess October's got slots open.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, I think the regions that typically have these type of events that don't have one announced yet. It seems likely to me at this point that those would be scheduled in the back half of the schedule, or at least in the middle of the schedule. They will not be like right at the front of the schedule, hopefully.
I will say, rest in piss, Europe and AO. Y'all have less info somehow than we do. It's kind of cringe.
Yeah.
Good luck on that one.
It certainly seems like, yeah. It's a little strange, but Europe has had struggled with their Bushiroad events for a while now, so maybe not too surprising, but not great.
Yeah, not great. But yeah, we have them announced. Worlds will be in Japan. It will be in February, actually. So not only is Guilty Gear with its actual release date finally announced, They couldn't be artists to show any actual card effects yet, but you know, it's fine.
You can play it at Worlds.
I can play it at Worlds if I make it there.
Yeah.
Ideally. You can also play Spycross Family at Worlds because
Unless it's in the first week, yeah.
no, even wouldn't that still be like 2 weeks after Spycross?
So it comes
Isn't
out
that-
January 26th.
Oh, 26. Okay, I thought it was 16th. I missed one digit. All right. Yeah, it would actually be really funny if it was just barely not, but we didn't know until like a month before.
It's good to have release dates for some of these things that we've been waiting on, that we've been anticipating.
Yeah.
So we know what to get Ben for Christmas. Good news all around.
Yeah. All of the May OFRs or SPs, whatever rarity they make her cards, you know, just that. Although I will say they did release the rarity kind of pool, and
Yes.
it's a lot.
Yes.
There's a bunch of OFRs and SPs, and there's a secret sign by our Lord and Savior Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Yeah, I was interested about that. Usually when you have a set that isn't going to have actual character signs, you know, like who's going to sign the SPs, right?
Right.
So they'll probably have some kind of stamped looking,
So
similar
they
to
do
the...
have stamps. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've shown off some of the stamps that are doing for the King of Fighters remake.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
so
yeah.
it'll probably look something like that, which is very cool.
Dude, the maze stamp is just gonna be a charge input.
Hopefully it's the jellyfish pirate symbol. That would be cool.
Yeah. No, it's both. You get the jellyfish pirate symbol and the charge input for a dolphin.
Yeah.
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 Soul gets like a dragon install. Well, no, because he doesn't actually have install in Strive. But maybe Kai's can get the dragon install input. That'd be pretty funny.
Who knows? But what I will say is that OFRs are common in situations like this, where you don't have actual SPs. They did this with Alicization
And Kobayashi as well.
Yeah, where they juice the set with some OFRs, which is nice.
But
OFRs are great.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is the set has both, right?
Yeah.
Technically,
Well,
it has all three because
Right.
you have the hot stamps.
Yeah.
You have some OFRs,
Yeah.
which on the Soul and the Kai arts that have been revealed probably look pretty sick.
Yeah.
And we have Daisuke signing a card.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's gonna be an event of some kind if I know if my spider sense is tingling in the right way here, because it's the creator of the game, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be some kind of like burst event or something. Who knows?
Dude, I'm
But-
gonna be so goddamn poor if my case doesn't have the secret. I'm just gonna be like, well,
Depends on how strong it is.
oh, true. If it's weak, but would they make the secret that weak? Copium.
Ask the yellow Alicization secret,
Oh, what is it? Wait, there's a yellow Alice?
or the one from
Okay.
from the anniversary.
What's the yellow secret? I didn't know there was one.
The Asuna one. It's like feeding but worse.
Oh.
It's like
Oh.
you get to. It doesn't go to memory. You pay 1, and you get to salvage, and then you reveal the top, and if it's level 1 or higher, it goes to stock. There's a reason you haven't seen it. It's not good.
Yeah.
And so instead of getting the Alicization mask clone, you could get that. Isn't that fun?
Oh. Wow. Well, there's only one secret, so hopefully it's good, but I guess it'd be better for my wallet if it wasn't. Speaking of killing my wallet, I did go to Anime Expo, and I did buy all of the Arxis stuff that I could have ever wanted to buy.
Yeah, how was your trip? This is your first AX,
It's my
right?
first Expo, so the line experience, is pretty extensive, right? But we got there on our first day where we were taking care of most of our exclusive shopping. We got there at like 5 in the morning, and then we were able to get in with like reasonable speed, and I sped ran to the Arxis booth the second it opened, and I was inexplicably in line behind 6 other people, and that was the shortest line I was at.
I'm about to replay this whole scenario when I go to Gen Con later this year.
Nice.
Because it's the exact same scenario where it's like, there's one thing you can go to in the time that it opens, and it has to be the most important thing that you have. Yeah. And you rush over there really quick, buy it, because as soon as the rest of the people get to it, it's gone.
Yeah, I got the holographic cover vinyl for the Guilty Gear soundtrack that they had there.
Strive?
No, it's a compilation of multiple.
Nice.
So you get songs from across the franchise.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We love to see it.
Yeah. And I got, funnily enough, I got a second May hoodie because properly to cosplay May, the hoodie should be oversized. And the one that I had originally gotten was like a perfect fit.
Sure.
And so I was just like, we're at AXPO. I'm here to be ignorant. Let's be ignorant.
My favorite part about this whole thing is the commitment to excellence for this cosplay. If you're not carrying a real anchor, don't talk to me.
True. But I got that. I got the Bridget bomber jacket and the May button-up shirt. Did I get another jacket? No, I don't think so. But I got some mats. I got some stuff for some other people that wanted arcs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
the classic, shopping trip for all the homies.
Yeah, hats off, salute from all of us who wanted stuff from AX and got it because you guys were committed. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, no notes.
No, and I got this jacket that I'm wearing, and actually this entire outfit. You will all never understand exactly what I'm referencing, but
if you're happy, I'm happy.
I got some. Sorry. The joke is, this is the most expensive fashion and yaoi trip that I've ever been on, because I also got some BL games that happened to be there, and that was what I was. And that was what I got.
Well, the reason I've never gone to AX is mostly because I feel like I would be bored after a few days. Like, I would buy everything I would want to buy. Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, I don't, I'm not super...
I kind of felt that,
I'm not super into the music of, that, the concerts and, panels and stuff like that.
You mean you wouldn't have gone to the HoloLive concert?
I mean, not that I wouldn't have gone, but, it's one of those things, it's not like a peak enjoyment activity.
Right,
I love hanging out with the homies, obviously. If we're all going to a concert, let's do it. But, I'll have to go one of these years just to gauge it for myself, but it's also just a super long trip. You guys were gone for almost a week.
Nah, I was gone for a week plus because I went earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Thursday to Wednesday, that's a long trip. Isn't that what
people went Friday? Friday.
Friday. Okay.
Friday, or I guess they also went almost a week because it was Friday to Thursday.
Yeah.
Because we went to the Demon Dice concert.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Which was sick. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it was very funny going to the Bushiroad demos. Being like, "Yep, I'm here to demo Weiss Schwarz. Please let this end so I can get the Guilty Gear promo."
I'm sure that they are more than a little aware.
No, they're fully aware, but the neat thing was, actually, that wasn't the case, because in my demos, I actually paired into somebody that wanted to try Weiss Schwarz, and the staff were clearly a little overwhelmed by how many people they were having to teach Weiss Schwarz at once, and so I was just there all right, buddy, I know how to play Weiss.
I got
talk.
you. Yeah.
Let's talk. Yeah, and so all of my demos were all right, friend, this is how we play Weiss. You're gonna take that card, you're gonna clock it. You're gonna draw some cards, and then you're gonna swing some cards, and this is what we're gonna do. And then I would speed through my entire turn and be like, all right, now we're back to your turn.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they appreciated the help, because when you're getting completely overrun with people, anything helps. But
but the actual worst demo experience was the Shadowverse one. because they scripted it fully for like 4 or 5 turns.
Nice.
It was literally like, hello everybody and welcome to the Shadowverse demo. One of you is the Forestcraft player and one of you is the Swordcraft player. Now, will the Erica player begin their turn by pushing the play points up to 4 and 4 because we sped it up a little bit. And then you're gonna play Quick Blader from your hand to the field and move 1 play point down. Now then, creatures normally have summoning sickness, but Quick Blader has Storm. So now you can engage it to hit the Arisa's face for 1. And then you'll pass your turn.
I guess I can appreciate that from like a teachability perspective. Like you don't feed them to, it's not like drinking from a hose.
Yeah, for sure. But like,
yeah,
when like especially
for 4 turns, bro, that's probably a little too long.
It was like 4 turns of like definitely plays that no human would ever make type thing, you know, and also much more so than the Weiss demos. Most of the Shadowverse demos were like people who played Shadowverse.
Sure, yeah, because the game's been out forever.
Yeah, and so like we're all just sitting there like, oh wow, I played a Quick Blader and hit face. That's so crazy. The Swordcraft player hitting face? I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I played the phone game for a little bit, and so I'm kind of familiar with it, but it didn't really, it wasn't really my game out of the gate. We'll see how it evolves.
For me, evolves, but but for me, it's actually just a physical TCG difference. Not to spend too much time talking about not Weiss, but it's really a fun game for me personally to play like in person in comparison to the online game, which is kind of weird conceptually.
I think in general people enjoy card games more in person, because there is it's like fighting games in that sense where it's like
there's the tactile.
Yeah, there's a tactileness to it, but it's also like your opponent's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And like you get to watch their reactions, you get to see the way they move, the way they look.
And the best part about it is that they have fully voiced taunts in the companion.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in our local showed that to me. One of the twins showed that to me, and I was like, you are joking. I'm
literally going to play every Shadowverse game like this, so you can hear it. It's the app to keep track of your play points and your life points, but you also get taunts.
I will strike you down. I will strike you down. I end my turn. My turn.
You get all.
If
you scan in the higher rarity cards with an NFC phone, you get more taunts. Fully voiced.
All right, well that locks it in. I will not be playing Shadowverse under any circumstance. All right, let's talk about Weiss Schwarz now. I hate this game.
Yeah, let's talk about Weiss. Last thing from like recent happenings for fun. Real Life did come out. I did get my case, and because the faithful are definitely always rewarded, I did pull the Mahiru SP and the triple rare climax.
So yeah, for context, this set has like 24 SPs.
It's 24 SPs. Now I think we thought that it was only gonna have 2 when we were thinking it was gonna come out. It actually had 4, which ups the odds a little bit, but still.
Yeah, I mean,
very nice.
Yeah, congratulations on that. We'd love to see it.
So if you are one of the 3 people that bought Review Starlight Relive and you pulled a Mahiru SP, you can hit me up on Facebook. I'm in the Weiss Schwarz Global Community group.
Feel free to comment on this video with
Feel free to comment on this video with some way of contact so that you can sell me a Mahiru. That'd be great.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that the market for that's pretty limited, considering I was looking.
Dude, the SPs are already listed for 75 for some of them.
Dollars?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great. Now, Mahir is one of the only quote-unquote good SPs in the set, so I assume it'll be more than 75, but, you know.
Yeah, I'll say this. I didn't see anyone selling this set on the Discord, which is not a good sign.
Yeah.
I didn't look extensively on Facebook, but...
There was one guy, and I already bought his climaxes off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a set comes out and nobody says one word about it, that's not a good sign.
Hey, I said one word about it.
Yes.
I said a few words.
That's true.
And we'll talk about it more in the next episode, but Slime 3 is incoming. And
yeah.
we will discuss that pretty extensively when it's out. But for now, let's hop into the Spike Corner.
We can't stay away. We're in the Spike Corner all the time.
Yeah. You know, all these other segments after the Spike Corner rotate, but we're tryhards. We're spiking every day.
Yeah.
We're out here.
You're just never going to be able to dissuade me out of the Spike Corner.
So, a few small bookkeeping things. New time rules. They've been reverted. Last season, it was if you go to turns and then nobody wins, you get a double loss. Slow players be damned. However, this year, we've now returned to clock comparison at end of turns. And so, slow players unite. Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's my exact feelings on the matter. If I can be completely honest, I hate it. This rewards slow play. It's a minor reward. The game is becoming very explosive in the end game anyway, so it's it's unlikely that this will be a significant effect. But what I will say is that in the back of your mind now, if you go to time and then you go to turns and you see yourself with a significant lead, the urge to slow play will be there. I'm not saying that people will give in to slow play, you know, or that there'll be more slow play than there already is. Some players play faster than others. That's just how Weiss is, or that's how our card games are. Some people like to be more deliberate. But if there happens to be a slower paced game, the fact that it rewards one player over the other because of the nature of like whose turn it is or whether they blocked the turn before or whatever, I don't like that at all. Like, part of having the double loss in there is to encourage players to play aggressively. Now you've removed the incentive to play aggressively, and in fact added an incentive to play less aggressively. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it doesn't matter, but practically I can guarantee at least one regional top 8 or higher match will be decided by this. And that the player who wins from it or loses from it will not feel good about it, because it's just not a good way to set up your tournament. You shouldn't incentivize slow play.
Yeah. And another thing that I feel like we shouldn't incentivize is abusing some misaligned design intentions. However, they did not ban Anime in the summer conference. Just broadcast.
Yeah.
And what's worse is that they pre-banned Uma Musume in the fucking Shadowverse game. They're like, oh yeah, we took a look at this set and it came out pretty broken, and you guys don't have those sets yet, so we're gonna pre-ban the good cards in that set. And it's like, in the same presentation? Really?
So it's one of those things where that set's far enough away to where they can just take it out of the print and like be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this yet. We're still a
little ways away, to be fair.
Yeah. And so I'm going to give Bushiroad at least the benefit of the doubt for a little while. But I kind of need a week of talk about Ayame.
Yeah.
Because if the set releases and nobody says anything, and then a week goes by and they still don't say anything, I'm gonna get real scared. because
I've got my Lunar New Year's in a deck box.
yeah, the reality is that the release of the set only preempts the tournament season by like
a month,
3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So if they don't say anything pretty quickly around the release time, everybody's gonna get real scared. And the regionals that are coming up early in the season,
Duluth,
yeah,
Ontario, I think.
not Duluth, it's Rosemont.
It's Rosemont. Ontario, Rosemont, White Plains.
Yeah, those people that are going to those events need to be concerned, because I'm not saying that this deck can't be beat. All I'm saying is that it's not very fun to play against, and it's very difficult to prepare for. Like, there's nothing you can put in your deck that's gonna deal with this. It's just like it becomes a more like a heavily weighted coin flip, and that's just not a feels good for anyone that's looking to play the game competitively. It would suck to see Worlds invites rewarded for this sort of like deck building. So I think they will. I think they will say something the week of release, but if they don't, it'll be a real tragedy for the competitive scene.
Well, let's talk about some of the other meta shit. Nito and Alice. Hooray! It's still here.
Yeah.
Surprise to no one.
Yeah. So, you know,
and Gura,
we've
that
been
you mentioned as well.
Yeah, if we're looking at the regional meta, basically there's going to be a chunk of regionals where Overlord is not legal.
That's true.
And then there's going to be a chunk of regionals where it is legal. So if you're in the chunk that's been announced already, that's not Overlord legal, so basically anything before September 15th, then you get to dodge that, right? So those matchups that are unfavorable against Overlord, you can jam those. So you're gonna have to deal with Hololive at every release, or at every event.
And it's gonna be all manner of Hololive forms.
Yeah, I think when we talk about Hololive, we're talking mostly about Gura, but
I do actually agree with the way the community tier list is structured on that point for Hololive, of just like Gura on top, Kanata Marine also, pretty close, and then other variants just kind of just below.
Yeah, I think that
it's just consistent enough.
Yeah, the problem with there's some good strategies against this. When we're talking about Standby Gura, the big thing that they have is it's kind of similar to a Two Souls deck in the sense that every single card in the entire deck pretty much has a trigger. So hitting for 3 with climaxes is going to be a real thing, or 2 with standbys is going to be a real thing. So that deck is going to be able to pump damage in a way that few decks are able to. But really kind of questionable deck speed, because they don't really have a level 1 combo. Their combo is a back row. The standby combo is a back row combo that kills the climax to search. So deck does not move cards very well. So you can attack it from that perspective. You can try and like race them basically. But the other thing is that there's some interesting counterplay around Gura, because odds are if they want to try and if they're behind and they need to wombo you with a bunch of Guras, they're going to stand by this thing into the back because it's too dangerous to put it in the front. Standbying it to the back leaves some room for some counterplay. If you're playing a set that has, let's say, on-play freeze. Maybe I'm playing Danmachi, and that Gura can't attack forever because I will paralyze it in the back, and I will use torches to make sure I can do it. Or if you're playing, let's say, a different version of Hololive deck, how about like 8 Pants Suisse? If you try to put Guras in the back, I will blow them all up. Or I will shuffle them to the front and kill them. So there's
Anti-early punches.
Yeah. So
They'll
there's
just target anyway.
Correct.
Downgrade.
Yes, downgrade. Yep. These are all good tools. The main thing is that like you shouldn't try to tank this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
We gotta try to answer.
You're not gonna. If they drop the combo 3 times, you're gonna die. That's what's gonna happen.
Actually, let us know if you lived it. Video evidence.
Yeah. If you have video evidence of living triple Gura, then great.
Yeah.
But
show us.
we'd love
I'll
to see
send
it.
you a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I've made some meme designs of I triple canceled Marine and all I got was this T-shirt.
Yeah.
And the same thing with triple Itsuki. If you live triple Gura, I'll send you a T-shirt free of charge.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely spot on, because even with something like, let's say, the money counter, where you can negate the Gura auto, I mean, we're still got 100 packets coming in down on you. And I mean, it's good to stopping any damage is good. I'm not gonna sit here and say stopping damage is no good. But what I'm saying is that when you're looking down the barrel of like what is likely to be 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, and then 6 1s,
it ain't looking great.
Yeah, like it negating
does not
1
look
4
good.
negating 1 4 is good, but I mean, this is it's just a lot. It's just a lot of damage. The tap counter works a lot better.
Yeah.
So unironically, Hololive is well positioned to beat itself.
Yeah, it really is.
Because Gura decks will be running the tap counter.
True.
Because
hey, if you're an old holdover and you're still playing GGO alternative or ReZero for the anti-burn ones, maybe maybe you can live it.
Or perhaps
if you as the GGO alternative player successfully again coin flip for the ability to cancel burn one.
Also, I'm like pretty sure that didn't a team in Europe place with Log Horizon?
True.
The Log Horizon support prevents all auto damage.
Oh, sick.
So
wait. Oh, all?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey.
So
hey, that's
if you can manage to navigate the rest of the field successfully, there's a number of decks that Shiro will absolutely shit on.
Hey man, if you can, figure out Nino and like every other standby deck ever, and like
I don't know how you get there, but if you get there,
Slime's board and Alice and all that good stuff. I mean, they top 4 that with the 3 power-up sets.
Yep.
So it can happen to you.
Yeah. What a nightmare that would be. You sit down and they flip that shit over, and you're just like, oh man.
You said no what?
No. You'd just be like, well, I gotta head out. So, yeah,
right.
we're looking at a dramatic increase in power in the meta by adding Slime.
It's so funny if somebody actually managed to make the Log Horizon deck work, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy to navigate.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll play it in locals to annoy the crap out of people on the Hololive release date. Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
We're adding a huge amount of power to the format. We're gonna have the Quince, we're gonna have Hololive, and we're gonna have
just
Slime.
a quick reminder if you don't know what's coming down the pipe for Quince. Nino got better. It just got strictly buffed.
Yeah.
Right? You got more filter tools and checking top 2 on literally every single attack so that you can trigger more standbys or not.
Yep.
Itsuki got strictly better, got a strictly better finisher to burn 3, Scry 2 after the burn 3, or Mocha 2.
Mocha 2, and then better removal tools, better
like a memory anti-early, a tutor for the 1 combo that then becomes pay 1 stack self 2 sigs just to salvage another thing. Might as well.
Yep, and then a 2/1 that has the permanent removal, on reverse, ditch the top of the clock, and then by the way, also tutors for doors. Any door.
Yeah.
Just grab one.
Just grab a door. What if you didn't have a door? Well, now you do. Who's the choice trick? Ichika?
Ichika.
Yeah. What if you had on attack scry the top 2 across the whole board
Yep.
at level 2?
Yep.
And it pluses you, by the way. This is a plussing early play combo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. We have a local who plays Yotsuba, and that deck is very good.
Yeah.
And it's just sad to think about that
It's not better
this may
than the rest of them.
it may be the second best memory deck in the format.
Yotsuba? You think?
Yeah, only in terms of memory quantity.
True,
Only,
it does.
only Saikano is better.
Yeah.
And this is literally the 4th best Quint deck. That's how powerful the Quint set is. There are 3 other decks that are just strictly better than this deck that builds like 8 memory, and their level 1 combo is on attack, check like 7,
Yeah.
and add anything. It's just...
And the Yotsuba finisher lets you burn 2 twice. One without a climax, one with the climax, and if you didn't manage to kill them, let's just jam this other bar and spawn 3 Icy Tail finishers.
That's the 4th best Quint deck. The deck that does all that. And it's just unreal how long and how often this deck has been at the top of the meta.
Oh, shout out to, what is it? Shout out to Hugh, Miku still sucks.
Yeah.
In comparison.
That deck, that's the only character that's been consistently bad the whole time.
Sorry.
You hate to see it. But
man.
I mean, this deck has been at the top of the meta for well over a year.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any worse. It's only getting better with every set that comes out. So we have the unrestricted, or we have the minorly restricted version of that. We don't have the full JP restrict, but heads up, if this thing wins 2 regionals, I promise it will. I promise that restrict will be coming down, and there will be no more Nino. And honestly, I couldn't be more excited. Then we have Hololive. We all know about it. We're going to end up talking ourselves in circles about Hololive for the rest of our lives.
We don't need to talk about Alice anymore.
No, everybody's
It's already
familiar.
there.
You've been blasted by that deck in your local, you just have. And then for the second third, or for the second half, or 2/3 of the season, we'll have Overlord. Which is supremely unfun to play against. Hopefully you weren't trying to play Minus Souls or build boards or do anything like that, because that ain't gonna happen. And repeated level 1,
Goodbye.
And repeated burn 1s for maximum fun.
Yeah.
And then Slime 3, the most fair deck that wins Weiss tournaments all the time, because it just does a whole bunch of really good things.
Turns out, if deck good, deck do good.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about that.
It has like the best off finishing package that I can think of. Like, you're just like, what if I just had, minimum burn 1, maximum burn 4? We just spin the wheel, we'll probably hit something good, and then if I don't like any of that, and it heals, if I don't like any of that, this one burns 4, and then on cancel burns 1, and then swings. So that's 3 packets in a card.
Yeah, they have a lot of ways to approach the game that are all very reasonable and yield very good outcomes. And the thing of it is that they're cheap. They're cheap ways to win the game. So their typical strategy of, I will just block you down after deck 1 is alive and well. They won't build as much memory as they did before because of the nature of how the new deck is going to change. And we'll talk a lot about that during the next podcast. It's going to be on the release. The recording of that will be on the release date of Slime 3.
Yeah.
So we can get a little deeper into that. But suffice it to say, they're abandoning some of their memory compression to get just a better deck overall. To build tremendous amounts of resources that they will just never spend and just block you down completely.
Yeah, I mean, the Nguyen is great. Nguyen goes crazy. And, like, the way the finishers are, you could even do the burn. The burn 4 kills your entire stock on attack. The cost is, like, kill your whole stock after paying 2 and ditch 2. But because of how you're attacking, you can still do that twice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, is that if they get the deck refreshed, then killing all the stock doesn't matter. It's like you're gonna last a whole nother deck. And so, of all the decks that can just block you down and live, this is by far the best of them in terms of fair Weiss. This and Psychono are the two fair Weiss decks, where it's just like very reasonable mechanics, nothing overwhelming, but decks that will block you down in the most frustrating ways possible. Like if everyone's faced a slime deck,
you don't need to memory compress if I just search the deck 3 times.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that during this last Springfest season, almost everyone, I'm sure, that attended multiple events played a game, they're facing a slime deck, they're refreshing their first deck at like 1-0, they've got like 4 memory cards and 6 stock and a full hand and a full board, and you're like, I'm never dealing damage again, am I? No, you're not. And the game ends when they're at 2-2 after casting 5 early play healers while you're just struggling to do anything to them and they're just poking you relentlessly. It's just, that's just how they win.
I don't think you'll be able to block down as much with this setup, but you don't care.
No,
because
you just have way better finishing.
You just have way better finishing, way better just like, I'm gonna amass all the resources in the world. Because it turns out, if you just reprint Alice on a bigger body that searches, feels good.
Yeah, and so this is going to be one of those rare decks that's going to have a level 2 combo that they cast at 2 to derive value at 2, which we haven't seen a lot of in Weiss, but traditionally, if a level 2 combo produces enough resources, then it's going to see play. And this is probably the most valuable one of those. And the last one I can think of is probably the Kirito from Alicization. It was like, on reverse, we can stock 2 cards for free of our choosing from the waiting room and then check 4 and then add a guy, and it's on an 11k. This is on like a 12k.
It's a 12-5 base. Now you're gonna play a climb or what is it? No, it's a 10-5 base.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have the back row set up.
Yeah.
So now I'm at 12-5 base.
And it's on pants.
It's on pants. So now it's a 13-5. I'm way far away. It's a 13-5 swinging.
Yeah, and so it's stronger than Kirito with a better overall package than Kirito on a better trigger than Kirito. So if
matches up well into Alice.
Yeah, if that saw play, then this will see play. They'll have to be careful of, in those matchups because of the power numbers, but generally speaking, a lot of times they're able to just get over. And so there's more and more decks are entering the format that are going to be able to deal with Alice at 2. Like immediately at 2, the jig is up. And so the more of those decks enter the format, the less overwhelming that deck will feel. So I think that Izuki does well against it. I think Nino does well against it. I think Overlord does very well against it. I think Slime does okay against it, and I think Hololive does good against it. Hololive will start dealing with that shit at 1 with Amelia. So we're entering a period of time where Alice players are just going to have to accept the fact that the game isn't going to feel as free because there are a whole bunch of decks entering the format that can deal with that deck, and did in Japan. So we'll see how that overall affects the meta. The first few tournaments will be really interesting to watch.
Yeah. And that'll be it for the Spike Corner for now. But there was a set that we didn't talk about that is entering the meta. It's Avatar, The Last Airbender. And as you know, as Sokka Scam 12 by kind of roams around, we have another deck that Steve over here, along with a few others, has been trying to really master. So, Steve, have you become the master of the elements?
Well,
is this ambitious deck the master of the elements?
We're going to talk about being the master of the elements, which, if you've seen the show, it's apparently very hard. So, once again, I'm drawn in by the allure of a deck that sounds really reasonable, but is difficult to pull off.
Right.
And there's nothing I love more than a deck that is never going to be anything better than tier 3, but looks like it could do something.
Right.
So let's talk about Master of the Elements.
Let's talk about Master of the Elements.
So what we're talking about is the Aang choice combo from Avatar. If you're not familiar, it's heal on play, and then on climax combo with choice, pay 1 and attack, and pitch 1 on attack. And we're going to mill the top 4 cards of our deck, And based on how many different colors we reveal, we perform mechanics. So with 2 colors, we get to shuffle 2 cards back into their deck. With 3 colors, we burn 3. And with 4 colors, we take the top card of their deck and we put it into the clock. We do those effects in order.
Mm-hmm.
So, we really need the 3.
Yes.
The 4 is nice. If it happens, fantastic.
Fantastic.
You want 1 4.
Right.
But realistically, we have to have the 3. The 2 is just whatever. But
It'll
the 2
happen.
and the 3 together is where the danger comes in with this.
Oh, yeah,
because
for
normally what you see with reshuffle is that, like for example, the Silica from that everyone's probably seen by now from Anime Anniversary. The burn is first, and then the shuffle. With Aang, the shuffle is first, and then the burn. What does this mean? If your deck is small, but full of damage cards, I have bad news. You're going to take a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Also, the decompression of 2 just makes it a lot more likely that you're going to take some damage. And so, that's... There can be sneaky reach there. And so, this is a very good combo. I like it a lot.
Uh-huh.
So, but what have we signed ourselves up for?
We need to mill 3 different colors, Steve.
Right. We need a 4-color deck, right?
Yes.
Because we're going to need enough cards from every color to where we can make it happen. So, what does that mean? Well, we have to be very choosy about how we put this deck together. So, you have a number of level 1 combo choices to pick from, and but it needs to be somewhat selective. And so the problem with that is that 2 of the combos that you can choose from are not very selective, which is the door combo and the pants combos. So the pants combo is check 3, add 1, any. The door combo is reveal 3, and then your opponent puts 1 in your hand, you put 1 on top, or up to 1 on top, and the rest go in the waiting room. Those are good combos. Door combo, really, really good in some contexts. And could be good for this deck. Like, it's a choice you could make. Because you can make triggers happen, which is kind of a big deal.
Right.
And it also eases one of the pain points of this deck, which I will get to in a minute. But suffice it to say, the zeros from Avatar are densely packed into some colors, the good ones. The bad ones are everywhere. So,
what's our good colors?
Right, so...
What do we got?
So, we're going to run the Toph combo at level 1.
Okay.
So,
we have green as one of our main.
Right.
Yellow's the other main.
Right. So, the good thing about Toph is we get to salvage from a much bigger pool of cards. So, this is basically the Elizabeth combo from SDS just twice. You ditch a card, you get to do it twice. So, that'll let you pick up selective pieces that you need for whatever the application is that you're going to use them for, whether it's deck speed, whether it's answering the board, whatever. The other thing that's good about playing the Toph combo is Bar. Bar is the climax repeatable combo. Basically, Tophs can dig other Tophs, and you can recombo them repeatedly, because Bar is the climax trigger for repeating combos. So, great. We love Bar. Third thing about playing green at level 1 that's really important. There are no good green zeros at all, except for the Brainstorm. Everything else does not feel good at all. So,
do you play the Oversize?
That's the only other green zero that you could even consider playing.
Right.
And no, I'm not playing it. The reason why I'm not playing it is twofold. One, we have a lot of green cards already. 1, the Brainstorm's green. 2, the Bar is green. And then both of my level 1s are green to kind of unify the level 1 game.
Are you
I'm playing the 2 Slayer?
Okay,
yes.
the 2
so
Slayer.
the level 2 Slayer, to answer Alice decks, is also green. So this is another good reason to play green at 1. So we have a lot of good reason to play green. But we just added a whole bunch of green cards to the deck. So 4 bars, 4 level 1 combo, some number of the level 2 Slayer, and then some number of the Brainstorm. That's like 13 to 16 green cards. So we can't have any other green cards because we have to have enough room for all the other cards. So now let's talk about yellow, which is going to be our obvious second highest color.
Right.
Because we need the Aang 3. So we have that. We have the Aang Climax. Some number of that. Then, the Climax Swap is also a shuffle in 2 to give souls,
Yeah.
right? Climax Swap, very useful in this set. Shuffling in specific cards so that you can mill them with Aang is also absolutely critical to your endgame success, usually. Your deck will not frequently be in a state to where you can easily get everything that you need. You will be able to look at the waiting room. This deck is not fun to play. If you don't want to use your brain during a Weiss game, if you don't want to count, if you don't want to look at your waiting room and like figure out, kind of get a real good idea of what's in the deck, do not play this deck. Because
dude, you need to know your list pretty goddamn well.
Yeah.
We gotta mill of like 3 colors. So we gotta make those odds right.
Yeah. So shuffling in the right cards is really important. So this deck will run more Climax Swappers than any other deck that exists for Avatar. So we're gonna run that. That's yellow. All right. What else is yellow? So we have the JC, right?
Yes.
So the JC gives power on attack, which helps both Tophs get over whatever they need to get over, and it also helps sustain your hand. And it's another recombo piece. So if I trigger a bar and I have a JC out and I've got the level 1, then I can just rebounce the level 1, replay the level 1, and recombo them again on the follow-up turn. So this is how you sustain your resources if you're playing this deck, because it's just a normal deck. So against Alice, against Standby, against really big shit, it's going to be difficult to maintain the board and maintain your hand. So pieces like the JC that are like on attack, give a character 2k, and then JC during your opponent's turn, stuff like that is what really helps you sustain your resources in the mid game. So we've also got that. There are plenty of other yellow cards. That's pretty much the yellow cards that I'm playing. So that's, around 12 cards. Now we have the other 2 colors. So the most easy to figure out color from this point is blue, because blue has got about 3 good cards total for this deck. One of them is obvious. So there's a Katara.
What if we could mill 5?
Yes. The math becomes much better when you mill 5.
It does.
3 becomes nearly certain, and 4 becomes a lot more likely on mill 5. So we have a Katara that's really all it does. It has some other abilities. I'm not even sure what they are. It literally only comes on the board at 3. I don't do anything else with it at any other point.
It gives your middle position 1/5.
Okay, that's, yeah.
And it combos with another pants.
Yeah.
If you want it.
I'm sure. So center 1/5 is something. And we'll get to that in a bit for the reason why. So we're gonna run that, obviously. Our only early play healer in the entire set is blue.
Yeah.
And we're gonna need that, because some games will not go slow, and we need them to go slow.
Yeah.
Because we can't win yet, so we need something to jam when we can't win. So we're gonna have to run this thing. Then we have the most goated level 0 for the entire deck, which is Aang attacking with water. So this is 0/0/500. Okay. What it does is, on play, we mill 3 cards, and if they're 3 different colors, you can just add 1 to your hand.
There we go.
Straight up. This is a card I was absolutely convinced would not do anything. It would just be mill 3. And I was fine with that. I was fine with that, because deck speed is a real thing, and getting it for free is rare. So I was like, on play, deck speed, fine. I don't care what it does, right?
Surprise. It does something.
It just works. I don't know why. I don't know what the math is, and I've given up trying to figure out why it works. It just works all the time. I am consistently blown away by how often it works. When I saw this card on reveal, I was like, this card is never, ever going to work. It'll work once a game, maybe. This thing works 5 times a game sometimes. It's absolutely disgusting how often it works. So, fantastic. We love picking it up. Every chance I get, if there's nothing else to pick up, my hand looks good, I pick that thing up. Every single time. So, we got our blue figured out. It's one of the smaller colors, right? Our other small color, red. What are we going to do with red?
Seems pretty hard.
If you're not playing the door combo, there's not very many good red zeros is the other problem. So anybody who's played the standby deck probably is aware of the fact that the red zeros are not super great. There's a couple notable ones that you can play. We have the drop salvage that when its damage is canceled, returns to your hand. Sometimes that all happens at once and is very good, very good. So you drop salvage, you pick up a piece that you need, and then your 2 or 3 or whatever is canceled, and then it bounces back to your hand. Fantastic. We just plussed in a pretty nice way for nothing.
Yeah, we accept.
We take those. What else do we have? We have Aang Firebending Accident. We can use that to pick up specific pieces by, you kill it and discard a card to pick up something else. That's a very normal mechanic. We also have the Salvage Ricky, which is essentially a 4 deck speed card.
That mill 3, pick 1, put it in your clock, salvage a guy.
And it also has scry or mill on play for power.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we get to move 4 cards, which is great. Between this and the blue card and the Brainstorm, this deck feels like it has plenty of deck speed.
Warp speed.
Yes, it goes very fast. But this is a totally fine card. It's mostly 3k, and it gets you a piece that you need, and it can force you to level up, which is very good. Oh, one other piece about the blue Aang that I forgot to mention, the other reason this card is so good for this deck, it swaps the bottom card of your clock with another card. So, the color setup.
We got it.
Yeah, like whatever you didn't get, if your level up situation was scuffed or whatever, you can fix it. You just need to take a little damage, and then you got it. No problem.
There you go.
So, we've got...
I do notice earlier you said we're going to have some amount of choice climaxes.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be 4?
Well, because it turns out you don't need it until you're level 3, which leaves us some room to add some high value other cards.
You are playing like 3 or 4 climax swappers.
Yeah.
And you are playing bar.
Yeah. And we have every color in the game.
Right. True.
So, what can we fit in? Well, we can put a Band-Aid on our mid game, and we can add some high value red cards by jamming Dancing Dragons into this thing.
Okay.
So the rest of the red is filled out by Dancing Dragons and 2 standbys.
Okay.
So we're running, the build I'm currently employing is 4 bar, 2 standby, 2 choice. And Dancing Dragons is the type of card that makes this deck feel better than it should, because it keeps the mid game a lot more stable. There are some things...
Double downgrade does tend to do that.
Yeah, it's double downgrade and double 2 soul hitters. So when you're playing a fair deck, it does not feel very good if your opponent is playing an unfair deck against you. And so what this card tends to do is flatten out the playing field against Standby, against Alice, against any of these decks that want to field bomb you and beat you up and take control at level 2. You just won't let them. So... because you won't let them, that'll let you stay on the board longer, which lets you respond to them, not the other way around. It gives you room to play anti-level counters. Gives you room to play... And the thing is they have to remove this thing. Because if they don't remove it, it downgrades every turn. So even removing 1 and getting to keep 1 is an absolute win for the Avatar player. Because you know that the board's going to stay relatively stable, which is really important for your setup, because your endgame hand is kind of needs to be some amount of Aangs, however many Aangs you can afford, and then we need the Climax Swapper, probably. We need Katara if she's not already on the board. We need the Choice Climax or some Climax to swap it with, and then we need the Choice Available, so we might need some amount of deck speed. So there is a little bit of setup that goes with this deck, but the other thing is that sometimes you'll RNG into standbys, which can get you Aangs, which can get you Katara, which can get you supports that can keep the Dancing Dragon board alive. You know, there's a lot of things you can pick up off of the standby when it randomly happens that are just very nice value. And if the game is going in a way where you can't afford the Dancing Dragon, or you don't want the Dancing Dragon because it's not useful, your opponent's deck isn't leaning into it or whatever, or maybe they just cleared the entire waiting room and then downgrade isn't going to do anything, then you just don't play it. Like, you just don't put it down. Put down the Katara healer. Put down whatever you need to put down to keep the game going. Because at the end of the day, it does have a bit of reach, and it's better to have a good Aang setup than it is to try and force something in the mid-game that's going to hurt your Aang setup. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is master elements, and the only way we can do that is getting the perfect Aang setup. So that's the way it plays. Now, we've talked about all the things that, I've talked about all the things that I like about this deck.
What do we not like here?
Why is this deck not good? Let's talk about that really quick.
True.
So, the community is not high on this deck. And most of the tier lists that I have seen are not high on this deck. And there's a couple reasons why they would say that. And probably one of the more obvious reasons is it can fall flat. So if you don't get Katara and you have to mill 4, if you don't get enough Angs, if you don't get the choice climax, obviously those are things that can happen to every deck. But the thing that happens to this deck in specific is if you reveal the wrong cards off the mill. Now, if you reveal the wrong cards off the mill and it just falls completely flat, that's obviously very bad. In my experience, that should not happen unless you've made some mistakes earlier in the game that have led to that point. Or perhaps the deck is not constructed in an optimal way.
Or you are extremely unlucky.
Yes, it would require extreme unluck at that point. But that can happen, right?
Can happen.
So falling flat, right? That's the worst thing that can happen. Even the shuffle, even if you only get 2 is not great. Because shuffling in 2 is not enough to win most games. Unless your opponent's already at 3 and they're willing to just eat. Then maybe it is. Second thing. Obviously, we need to balance the colors in the deck. What does that mean? That means that we can't just swap cards for other cards. It's very hard to build this deck. It's very hard to practice this deck. It's very hard to determine what you should take in and out of this deck, because answering a specific problem that you have, like for example, I found in a lot of games that I would like to have a counter at level 1, because Toph gets power from Axe, and the level 1 Iroh counter, which is yellow, would be very useful to have.
Yeah.
But adding that card would require me to do one of 2 things. 1, I have to take out a yellow card to keep the color balance even. Or 2, I have to take out a different card, and then I harm the color balance of the deck. And the more you finagle with the color balance of the deck, the less stable it becomes. So right now, I think the lowest count of any color I have is 9. And that's blue. And so you have to keep all the colors relatively balanced, because you do not want to get into a situation where the shuffle 2 cannot fix it. Like there literally is not any of a certain color in the weighting. You definitely do not want to get into those kind of situations, because you're going to harm the reliability of the finisher. So you'd have to really delicately balance the build, and that usually means giving up on cards that are reasonable, that you would want in a deck, but you just can't afford it from a color perspective. The other thing, the standby sort of puts a band-aid on this, but not really, because there's only 2 of them, and the chance of you getting a bunch of them is like very little. I'm happy to get 1 a game. This finisher does cost money to pull off, and the setup for it also costs money to pull off.
I mean, you know, let's say you got a climax swap and then play 3 Angs, so that's 7 stock.
And then 1 on attack.
And then 1 on attack, so now that's 8 stock.
Yeah.
You know,
so
that's a pretty penny.
Yeah, so 8 stock is a lot, especially because Dancing Dragons cost stock, or Katara cost stock, or some of your deck movement cost stock, the JC cost stock. So
you're paying some money throughout the game. It's not like you can just bank.
Yeah,
right?
You don't have the luxury of playing the game for free, and you don't have the luxury of generating gross amounts of resources, because while running more choice climaxes could net you more stock in the long run, the other thing that's worth talking about is if you don't have Dancing Dragon and you have something else in those slots, you're gonna have less high-level cards to even put into stock in the first place. This deck is not very top-heavy; it's very bottom-heavy, and so adding Dancing Dragon gives you something that you can choice into the stock more reliably and say, okay, well I don't need this anymore, or I'm not going to need this anymore, or I can pay this out with Dancing Dragon to get value and set it up. So you do need a lot of money to pull this off. That being said, those things, if they happen in concert, will make the whole deck feel very bad. If you struggle to put together a board, if you struggle to get the resources together, if the finisher falls completely flat, then the deck feels totally useless.
And I mean, like you were saying, it's just like trying to pick at problems requires you to look at your color balance real hard. There's a 1-0 that I think it's on ag. It's like user ML. You get to check top. If it's a 1 or higher, jam it into stock. Hey, there's some money, but it's green.
Yeah. And it's
can we jam more green?
Right, and that's the biggest problem is like when you're looking at the slots, you have to pay close attention to the fact that no one color can be too dominant. But at the same time,
there must be balance.
Yeah. But the reality is that if you think about the end game of the way this deck plays, it's going to have a lot of yellow cards on the board. Because we're going to have a bunch of Angs on the board. And we're going to have yellow cards pulled out of the deck. We're going to have the Choice Climax, probably. We're going to have the Climax Swapper, probably. So we're taking a lot of yellow cards out of the deck in the end game. But we need to have enough yellow cards that we can shove back into the deck with the reshuffle. Or we need to run enough yellow cards in general to actually produce yellow cards on the mill. So I love this deck from a deck building perspective because there will be someone who wins a regional with this deck. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Somewhere, someone is going to win with this deck. Or at the very least, they're going to get top 4. And the reality is that person will have to have played this deck 100,000 times. And no two builds of this deck will be identical. Because there are a zillion ways to approach it. And it's a lot more fun, in my opinion, from a deck building perspective, when Bushiroad puts something in front of you and is like, okay, figure out how to make this work in a way that feels winnable. As opposed to some other decks that definitely exist, let's hypothetically call it Alice or Nino, where hypothetically, if you had a deck named Alice or Nino from an anime,
hypothetically,
where 40 cards of the deck built themselves,
right?
Because they're obviously the strongest cards, and there's not any real thinking to do except for the last 10 cards. We need to massage those for the meta. That's it. That's not as fun from a deck building perspective, and I feel that some of the skill expression in Weiss that comes from deck building is removed when the deck is so obvious. And there are some very obvious decks out there where most of the skill of playing it comes from the pilot, where it's like the same people win in Weiss over and over again because they're the most skilled Weiss players. It's not, don't get confused, it's not luck, it's not anything else. It's the fact that they're better. They play the deck better. That's how it is. The same guy won 2 different Rumbles with the exact same deck that 100 other people were piloting. And it's because he was better. Period. That's it. And so, if there's 2 components to winning events, which is building good decks and then playing them well, removing one of those is obvious, an obvious way to cut down on the things you need to do right to win a regional. But I like it a lot more when we get these opportunities that there's a deck that it doesn't have an obvious way to build it. It's like, if you want to make this thing work, it definitely can win you a regional.
Right.
But you got to play it perfect. And you have to build it perfect. And that's a lot of fun to me. So I've been having a ton of fun with trying to master the elements. Though I definitely feel that picture with Aang where like he punches a rock. It's like, yep, that's definitely me.
That's you. All right.
So, I'll post a link to the current version of this deck that I'm playing, because...
Hey, you can put it on your Bushi Navi account.
Yes, I will put it on my Bushi Navi account, and I will link it in the YouTube description for this podcast so that you too can try to master the elements. Please do not consider this to be a canon build of any kind. Please feel free to change this however you feel like you need to adjust for the play patterns that you're seeing. There is no right way to build this. This is the way that I have it currently. If you see me at a regional and I'm piloting this and you see that it's different...
You're gonna pilot this at a regional?
No. No, I didn't say that. I said if you see me at a regional piloting this, right? That's all hypothetical, but don't tempt me. And it's different than the way it looks in the Encore decks. Please do not flame it. This deck is undergoing many changes.
And that's how it is.
But I try to master the elements. It's a lot of fun.
Try to master the elements. And so, that is our show for the day. So, tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.